Mr. William, the driver has arrived, announced the housekeeper through the intercom. William Thompson, 55 years old, looked out the window of his study on the 5th floor of the mansion. Down below, a modest, silver Toyota Camry was parked at the gate. Next to the car, a black man of approximately 48 years waited patiently, adjusting his simple uniform. "Tell him to leave," William responded, stepping away from the window. "But sir, this is the medical appointment you scheduled 4 months ago." William sat in his leather armchair, his hands trembling slightly. "I said tell him to leave. Cancel the appointment." This was the 15th time in 8 months that William had canceled a medical appointment. The richest man in Chicago, owner of a real estate empire valued at $1.2 billion, hadn't been able to leave his house for 3 years. William hadn't been born wealthy. Son of a construction worker and a seamstress, he built his fortune brick by brick, literally. He started by buying abandoned lots in Chicago's South Side with money he saved working as a real estate agent. By 35, he already owned his first development company. By 45, he possessed the largest urban development firm in Illinois. By 52, he was considered the most powerful man in the region, with political and economic influence that extended far beyond Chicago's borders. But all that success came with a devastating price. William was addicted to work. He never married, claiming that relationships were expensive distractions. He had no children, saying kids were risky emotional investments. His only relationships were professional, based on contracts and numbers. 3 years ago, during a particularly stressful board meeting, William had suffered a devastating panic attack. His heart raced, his hands sweated profusely, his breathing became erratic. He thought he was having a massive heart attack. At Chicago's most exclusive private hospital, after an exhaustive series of tests, the diagnosis was clear: severe panic disorder, probably caused by decades of chronic stress, social isolation, and constant pressure. From that day forward, William developed severe agoraphobia. Leaving home became a terrifying experience. Every time he tried to leave the safety of his mansion, the crises returned with devastating force. Racing heart, cold sweats, sensation of imminent death. William's mansion had everything he needed. A team of 8 staff members took care of the property. 4 housekeepers, 2 gardeners, a professional chef, and a butler. He managed his businesses completely remotely, through video conferences, emails, and phone calls. His business partners came to the mansion for crucial meetings. Specialist doctors made house calls when William could force himself to receive them. Everything came to him: gourmet food, medications, legal documents, people. But even so, William was dying inside. The wealth he had accumulated had become a golden prison. He had everything, but couldn't enjoy absolutely anything. Marcus Johnson was 50 years old and had been working as an Uber driver for 7 years. Before that, he had been a mechanic for 30 years, until the shop where he worked closed during the economic recession. Marcus's family lived on limited resources, but lived with abundant love. They gathered every evening for dinner together, sharing stories from their day. On weekends, they organized barbecues in their small backyard, welcoming neighbors and relatives. Marcus played blues guitar and sang for his family on Sunday afternoons. That Wednesday morning, Marcus had received a different ride request through the app. The destination was in one of Chicago's most exclusive neighborhoods, and the payment was 5 times the normal rate. The description read, specialized medical transport, patient with special needs. When Marcus arrived at the mansion, he was impressed by the magnificence of the property. Electronic gates, perfectly manicured gardens, an ornamental fountain in the center of the courtyard. It was a universe completely different from his own. The housekeeper approached the gate. "Mr. William canceled the medical appointment. You won't be needing your services anymore." Marcus looked at his watch. He had left home at 7 a.m., crossed all of Chicago in morning traffic, and now it was 11. "Excuse me for asking, but is Mr. William sick? Does he need to see a doctor?" The housekeeper, Mrs. Rodriguez, 68 years old, who had worked for William for 22 years, sighed deeply. "He always cancels appointments. He hasn't left the house in 3 years. He's very afraid." Marcus reflected. In his experience as a driver, he had transported many people with different special needs. Elderly people with limited mobility, people with disabilities, cancer patients in treatment, always with great care and infinite patience. "Could you ask if he would see me? Just to talk for a moment. Sometimes that can help." Mrs. Rodriguez went up to William's study and told him about the driver's suggestion. William, intrigued by the man's persistence, agreed to speak with him through the window. Marcus stood in the courtyard, looking up. William opened the window, but stayed back, in the shadows. "You wanted to speak with me?" William asked, his voice slightly trembling. "Good afternoon, Mr. William. My name is Marcus. I came here to take you to the doctor, but I've been told you're not comfortable leaving." "I haven't left home in 3 years," William admitted, surprised by his own honesty. "I have problems with crowds, with open spaces." Marcus nodded understandingly. "I've transported other people with similar situations. My sister-in-law had exactly the same problem after my brother died in a car accident. Tremendous fear of going out, terror of leaving his home." "And how did she recover?" "Very little by little. First, she'd only go to the front door, then to the corner of the street. She conquered the city bit by bit. I remember the first time I transported someone with severe anxiety. It was a 78-year-old woman who hadn't left her apartment in 5 years after being mugged. She cried during the entire trip, but Marcus had been patient, talking calmly, playing soothing music on the radio. "You know, Mr. William, I'm not a doctor or psychologist, but in my profession, you learn that sometimes people just need someone who understands them, who doesn't judge them." William moved a little closer to the window. There was something in Marcus's voice that calmed him, a genuine serenity without rush, without judgment. "Do you have a family?" William asked. "Yes, a wife and 2 children. What about you?" "No, I never had time to start a family, just work." Marcus remained silent for a moment, processing the information. It must be very difficult to be alone in such an enormous house. "What if we tried just walking to the gate? You don't need to get in the car. Just walk there and back." William felt the familiar tightness in his chest, but there was something different this time. Marcus's calm presence, his lack of pressure, made the idea seem less terrifying. I'm not sure I can do it." "No problem. If you start feeling bad, we'll come right back. No rush, no demands." After 40 minutes of conversation through the window, William slowly descended the stairs. His hands were trembling, his heart was already starting to race, but he kept walking. Marcus waited for him in the courtyard, maintaining a respectful distance. "Very good, Mr. William. That was already a huge step, leaving the house." William looked around. It had been 3 years since he'd seen his own garden up close. The rose bushes he had planted had grown spectacularly. The fountain was working perfectly. Everything seemed familiar, but also completely new. "How are you feeling?" Marcus asked. "Scared," William answered honestly, "but not as much as I imagined." They walked slowly to the gate. William had to stop 5 times, breathing deeply, controlling his anxiety. Marcus waited patiently, telling stories about his passengers, about his family, about Chicago. "My daughter is studying social work," Marcus said. "She always talks about how the mind and body are interconnected, that when we're afraid of something, the body reacts as if the danger were completely real." "She's very intelligent," William commented, managing to reach the gate. "Very much so. She works." The next day, Marcus returned. He didn't have a scheduled ride, but decided to visit William on his own initiative. This time, he brought a guitar. "I thought maybe you'd like to hear some music. It always helps me when I'm anxious." William, who had spent the entire night thinking about the previous day's conversation, received Marcus in the courtyard. They sat under the shade of the large oak tree that William had planted 25 years earlier. Marcus played soft blues melodies, humming quietly. William, who hadn't listened to music in years, only financial reports and business calls, felt something relax inside his chest. "Marcus," William said after 45 minutes of music, "can you tell me about your life?" Marcus told him about his daily routine. He woke up at 6, had breakfast with the family, worked all day driving around Chicago. He knew every street, every neighborhood, every story the city had to tell. "There are very difficult days," Marcus admitted, "when the car breaks down and I don't have money for repairs, when there's little work available, but I always have my family waiting for me at home." He told how he met Angela at the hospital where she worked, how they fell in love gradually, building a simple life but full of genuine love, how proud they felt when Jasmine was accepted into social work, being the first in the family to go to graduate school. "And Michael, my youngest, wants to be an elementary school teacher. He says he wants to teach underprivileged kids like he was. I'm very proud." William listened, fascinated. That simple family seemed to possess something that all his wealth couldn't buy: authentic connection, life purpose, genuine joy. On the third visit, Marcus made a proposal. "What if we take a drive? Just to the corner?" William felt the familiar panic beginning to intensify, but Marcus's presence calmed him. "What if I feel sick? We'll stop immediately. No problem at all." It took an hour for William to manage to get in the car. Marcus waited patiently, talking about mundane topics, playing soft music on the radio. When they finally left the gate, William gripped the seat tightly, but didn't ask to stop. Marcus drove slowly, narrated what he saw through the window, maintained constant conversation to distract William. "Look over there, Mr. William, that blue office building. Was that the first one you built in Chicago?" William looked and recognized the building. "Exactly. 20 years ago. I personally supervised every detail of the construction. It must have been very exciting to see it finished." "It was." William smiled for the first time in years. "I would stand for hours admiring it, proud of what I had created." In the following weeks, William's outings became longer. First to the corner, then to downtown Chicago. Marcus showed him how the city had changed in the last 3 years. "That park over there, do you know it? They did a beautiful renovation. It has a new playground, walking trails. I donated the land to the city to create that park," William commented, surprised to see how busy it was. "But I never came to see how it turned out. Want to stop and take a look?" William hesitated, but agreed. They walked through the park, William seeing families playing, couples strolling, elderly people exercising, life happening. "It's beautiful to see people enjoying a space you helped create," Marcus observed.
After a month of regular outings, Marcus made an invitation that surprised William. "Mr. William, my wife is making her famous barbecue ribs this Sunday. Would you like to have lunch with us?" William panicked. "I don't know, Marcus. Many people, unfamiliar house? Just the four of us. Me, Angela, Jasmine, and Michael. Nothing formal, just a family lunch." William had never been invited to a family lunch. In all his adult life, his meals were solitary or at business meetings. "I won't know how to behave. It's been decades since I had a normal conversation with a family." "There's no right or wrong behavior. Just be yourself," Marcus smiled. On Sunday, William arrived at Marcus's modest house carrying expensive gifts he had bought online. A latest generation television, a laptop for Jasmine, designer clothes for everyone. Marcus's family felt uncomfortable with the extravagant gifts. "Mr. William," Angela said gently, "you didn't need all this. Your presence is already a gift." During lunch, William discovered what a family meal was like. Conversations flowed naturally. Michael talked about his college plans. Jasmine shared her studies and dreams of becoming a social worker for homeless youth. Angela shared funny stories from the hospital. "Mr. William," Jasmine asked, "do you have children?" "No. I never married, never started a family." "Why not?" Michael asked with the innocent curiosity of young people. William thought about the answer. "I thought I didn't have time. That family would interfere with my business." "Do you regret it?" Angela asked softly. William looked around the table. He saw the genuine love between these people, the simple joy of being together, the real connection they shared. Very much. And for the first time in years, he cried in front of other people. Marcus's family welcomed William as if he were a relative. Angela began cooking special dishes for him. Jasmine told him about her studies, asking for advice on investments to pay for graduate school. Michael taught him to play video games. William, who had never experienced family love, was being healed in a way that no doctor or medication had achieved. "Marcus," William said one afternoon, "you saved my wife. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to repay anything. You gave us something too." "What? I didn't do anything." "You showed us that wealth and poverty are just circumstances, that deep down we all need the same things: love, understanding, purpose." William began to remember his childhood, how close he was to his parents before becoming obsessed with success, how he had some friends in his youth but had abandoned them when he started building his empire. He remembered Sarah, a girlfriend he had at 30. She had asked him to slow down his work pace, to have more time for their relationship. William had chosen business. Sarah married another man and had 3 children. "Isn't it too late," he asked Marcus, "to have a real life?" "It's never too late," Marcus responded. "My grandfather started learning to read at 75. He said he wanted to read the letters my grandmother had written to him during their courtship." William decided to transform his life completely. First, he sought out a clinical psychologist, in person, leaving home for appointments. He began serious treatment for anxiety and agoraphobia. Second, he restructured his real estate businesses. He promoted partners who had always been competent, delegated more responsibilities, reduced his workday to 8 hours. Third, he began using his wealth differently. He created a scholarship fund for young people like Jasmine. He financed the renovation of public schools like the one Michael had attended. William had a brilliant idea. He talked to Marcus about creating a transportation company specialized in people with special needs. Elderly people, people with limited mobility, patients with anxiety like he had been. "You would be the general manager," William proposed. "You'd coordinate a team of drivers specially trained for this type of service." Marcus was moved. He always dreamed of having his own business, but he never had capital. "Now you do, not as a favor, but as a partnership. Your experience, my financial structure." In the following months, William practically became a member of Marcus's family. He participated in Sunday barbecues, helped Michael with math studies, financed part of Jasmine's graduate education. Angela treated William like an older brother. "You needed a family," she would say, "and we needed a rich brother," she would joke. William learned to laugh genuinely, to relax, to enjoy simple moments. He discovered the pleasure of watching a movie without thinking about work, of playing cards at the kitchen table, of listening to Marcus play guitar on Sunday afternoons. The specialized transportation company became a resounding success. William and Marcus hired 25 drivers, all trained to serve people with special needs. The business not only generated profits, but transformed lives. William began personally accompanying some cases. He met an 87-year-old woman who hadn't left her house in 7 years, a young man with panic disorder who needed to go to medical appointments, a mother with postpartum depression who was terrified of going out with her baby. "Every person we help leave their house is a victory," Marcus would say. Through the social project, William met Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a 52-year-old psychologist who worked with anxiety and depression. She had been impressed with the work William and Marcus were developing. Ironically, Sarah was the same woman William had dated in his youth. They met again at a mental health conference. "William," she said, surprised, "you've changed so much." "For the better, I hope." They began talking regularly. Sarah had divorced 5 years ago, had